All right, welcome back to the Art of Show. This week we're hanging out with Mike Curato, and we're talking about what it's like to develop one character for over a decade.
Welcome to the Art of Show, where we feature the people who are creating amazing stories for kids. Join us as we chat with children's book illustrators and authors, storyboardists, animators, and more. Now, their art might be for kids, but aren't we all just kids at heart? Here's your host, Brendan.
Alrighty guys, welcome back to the Art of Show. We are on about a 2-week break, but we are back and rolling for the rest of the year. We have a really fun interview for you guys today. This is with Mike Curato. Mike is an amazing illustrator as well as author of some pretty cool children's books, including the Little Elliot series. And what's really fun about this one is we really get into what it's like to develop a character from when he first appeared, the Little Elliot first appeared in a sketchbook, to what it's like to kind of be with the character for over a decade, which is really cool. There's a new Little Elliot book coming out in August. Mike also has another book coming out called All the Way to Havana, which is coming out on August 29th, the same time as his new Little Elliot book. We get into both of them as well as just Mike's journey as an artist and how he got into the kids' book world. Mike's a great guy. He's doing a lot of really, really cool things. And so without further ado, let's dive into our interview with Mike. Alrighty, well, welcome back to the Art of Show. We're excited to have Mike hanging out with us today. Illustrator extraordinaire, and you are in Brooklyn, is that right?
Actually, I just moved.
Oh no, I have my information wrong. Okay.
Yeah, I live in Northampton, Massachusetts now.
Oh wow.
So yeah, it's like one of those other illustrator enclaves, illustrator author enclaves. Yeah.
That's cool. That's really cool. I would imagine your space is a little bit bigger. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely bigger. Yeah.
That's awesome. Is Aaron Becker? Is he close to you? I feel like. Is he in Massachusetts?
He's in the area.
Okay.
Yeah.
When I had him on, I think he mentioned there's like a really cool community up there.
Yeah, there is. Cool. So a bunch of us hang out.
Yeah.
Time to time. And then you got the Eric Carle Museum in Amherst.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, actually, I would love to we can start there. So the What's My Favorite Color? That was this year, is that right? That came out?
Yeah, I think that came out in May.
And this was actually my first time hearing about the Carlisle Museum. For those that may not be familiar with it, kind of how did you get involved with it, and what was kind of your contribution to the book?
Well, actually, the What's Your Favorite Color and the previous one, What's Your Favorite Animal, they are published through Henry Holtz Books for Young Readers. So that's the same imprint that put out Little Elliot.
Gotcha.
Same editor. So my editor just asked me if I'd like to contribute to the project, and it's kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it was just a happy coincidence that I moved here, and then I was able to do like a book release party at the Carle Museum with a few of the other artists that were in the book.
What was it like taking your work? Was this the first time you've done like a gallery show, or have you done one before?
I've had work up at the Society of Illustrators.
Okay.
So like as far as publishing work, those are my only gallery experiences, the Society and the Carle Museum. Yeah.
Gotcha. What's it like in that kind of context? Like having your work in a gallery, because you're not in front of kids and reading and they're going crazy. Like, is it different, or like, do you approach even the work that's going to go into it differently?
No, I mean, it's meant for a book, so of course, like that's my main concern. And then it wasn't until like after everything was finished that the Carle said that they were definitely going to have a show.
That's cool.
Of all the work, and it's such a cool show.
Yeah.
And they shared pictures before I went in to see it, and it's like, oh, it looks great. But then you go in and everything's hung kind of low so that the kids can see it,
That's
and
fun.
Everything's miniature because there was nothing to see the scale in the photo. So it was even cooler to me, like seeing like this mini exhibit for smaller people, so everyone could enjoy. So yeah, it was really cool.
That's really cool. Well, sweet. Well, we'll kind of back up a little bit, and getting started, was art something that was just always part of your life, or you're always drawing?
Yeah, that was my thing. Yeah, I've always made art, and I always knew I wanted to do something in visual art.
Yeah. What was the stuff that you kind of drawn towards as a kid? Like, what were the things you were drawn?
When I was really little, kind of typical kid stuff like animals and my family and our house. And I loved cars. I was obsessed with cars.
Okay.
Which kind of plugs into a more recent project that I finished this year. And then when I got a little bit older, I was obsessed with comic books. So I used to copy like tons of comic book art and thought I was going to be a comic book artist for a long time. I mean, when I was really little, I was very into picture books and, thought like, I'll make picture books. And then teenager, I was like, I'm going to make comic books. And then when I went to college for illustration, I rediscovered my love of children's books.
Okay.
And that's when I knew like, that's the goal. But now I'm going to be doing both picture books and comics. I'm working on a graphic novel right now. So.
Oh, that's cool. When's that slated to come out?
When I finish it. I mean, I have a book deal, but it's kind of a passion project.
Okay, gotcha.
So, and it's with Laura Godwin, the same editor that's done all the Elliot stuff. So,
okay, cool.
So she's giving me a lot of different work, so she knows it's going to take some time. So I don't have a date for you yet, but
that's awesome.
One fine day, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. So was there a moment growing up where you knew that art was going to be your career, or was it something that were you ever being kind of pushed into a different path? And you're like, no, I need to go after this. Something you always had.
I mean, I think my dad for a while was a little unsure about me going to art school, because I think, with probably many parents that send their kids to art school, they have nightmares of their kids like on the side of the street trying to sell like a canvas, not making any money. And I think if you really do have a passion and talent for art, like there are many different facets that you can work in. So I started out, even though I was an illustration major, after school, I got a graphic design internship.
Okay.
Because, it's not like there aren't many places where you can go work full time as an illustrator.
Right.
So I started getting into graphic design, and that's how I earned my bread and butter for many years while I worked towards my my publishing goals. Yeah.
That's cool. So how did you manage that? Because a lot of folks, it seems like they got into kids' books almost as like a side piece, as a passion project while they're supporting their day job. So, I mean, were you just working at night, like working through dummies, or kind of how did that develop?
Yeah. So I do graphic design. It took me 10 years, right, to finally get my book deal.
Okay.
And there was a lot of like trying really hard and then like taking time off from it, and then taking time off was mostly due to just like time constraints. Like I'm working 2 or 3 jobs right now. I don't have time. And, sometimes getting discouraged, you mail out a stack of postcards. You don't hear back from anyone. And it can be soul crushing, So it was, I think I was like, I turned 30 or something, or somewhere around that time of my life, and I was getting very, critical about where I was. I mean, I had a comfortable graphic design job. I was, respected at my job, and but I was always daydreaming about making picture books, and so I decided that year, like, I just have to do it. And so, like you said, it was lots of hours after work that I was putting in. And I just started making pieces that I wanted to make for myself and made me happy.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think for many years I was trying to create pieces that were maybe trendy or were kind of like derivative of really popular illustrators in the moment. And that's just not, I don't think it's the right way to approach things. Like, you have to create from within.
Yeah.
So once I started drawing stuff that really got me excited I was kind of on a roll, you know, like making personal work. And then someone contacted me to illustrate their book, someone who was self-publishing. And the difference from all the other people that asked me to self-publish with them was that they actually offered to pay me.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So that got my attention. And
when was this? What year was this?
2010.
Okay, gotcha.
Ish, something like that. And so I worked on this book. I illustrated this book in like under 2 months.
Oh, wow.
It was a crazy deadline, and it was more like creating. I made like large spots.
Gotcha.
You know, like it wasn't kind of a typical picture book because of the time constraints.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of worked out, you know, and for budget. So yeah, it's called Mabel McNabb and The Worst Day Ever. Yeah, and it just kind of gave me confidence. I mean, the book didn't go anywhere really because we didn't really have the marketing power, but it was like a passion project for her, and she was creating for her nieces and nephews, and you know, had to deal with a printer. So, you know, we published a bunch of copies and sold what we could on our own. But it just gave me enough confidence that I thought to myself, okay, I just illustrated a book in 2 months, like, and I'm creating personal work that makes me happy. Like, I was just feeling recharged, like I hadn't felt in a long time. Like, okay, this is possible. I need to do it. I can't sit around and be comfortable. So the same year, I had a show. I lived in Seattle at the time. Sorry. So
no, you're good.
I had a show at my favorite cafe, and it did very well. I sold a lot of prints, and it gave me a deadline, right, to create all this personal work for this show. And by the end of it, what I really had was a portfolio. That's what I realized. And so I took all the work that I made for that show and some of the pieces from that book and took that with me to the SCBWI New York Winter Conference that year. So that was 2012.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe I made that book in 2011. Anyway, sorry. It's all blurry now. So at the SCBWI conference, they have a portfolio show that's juried. And I thought, like, okay, this is my way to start, like, making real connections because, you know, editors and art directors from all the major houses come to, you know, peruse the portfolios. So I thought, like, oh, this is part of my 5-year plan, right? I'm gonna, like, maybe make a contact, maybe someone will ask me to make a book cover or something like that. And then I ended up winning the show. So that was unexpected, happy accident number one.
Yeah.
And then after that, my inbox is just flooded with inquiries, especially about this guy right here. So little Elliot was a part of that portfolio.
Yeah.
And everyone was kind of enamored with him that was getting in touch with me. Like, who's this elephant? What's the story? Like, he looks sad. Like, what's the matter? You know, why does he have a sweet tooth? So I ended up getting my my first contract was for 3 books with Laura Godwin at Henry Holt.
Okay. And
now she has her own imprint, Godwin Books. So, yeah, it just all happened all at once.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy. I was pinching myself daily.
That's
nuts. It was weird.
That's so cool. So it sounds like Little Elliot was a big part of the portfolio, and you get noticed, and obviously your career. Where did the idea of Little Elliot come from? Where, and especially, has it morphed or has it changed over the years as you've kind of developed the character?
Yeah, totally. So Elliot just started off as a doodle in my sketchbook, and I just, for many years, I just would draw this little polka dotted elephant, and I had a few other characters. That raccoon from the Eric Carle book was another character that I used to doodle all the time. So they're both based on stuffed animals that I had as a kid. Except Elliot is a combination of I could show you the stuffy. Let me see if I can reach it.
Yeah. No worries.
Hold on, let's take off my headset.
Okay.
Okay, so this is my little elephant guy that my grandmother gave me when I was little.
That's cool.
And my raccoon's in the bedroom. So Elliot's a combination of this guy and the polka dotted elephant from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because they both kind of represent my childhood in a lot of ways. So that's kind of where the idea for the character came from. But when I was doodling him, it wasn't like I was thinking, I'm going to make a book about you. It was just something for me to doodle. And I tried making some personal pieces featuring those characters at some point, and they kind of didn't turn out how I wanted them to. I used to be more of a painter.
Huh.
So I'm kind of a failed painter. And just embraced my drawing abilities. And that's also what got me on the roll making personal pieces, because I kind of let go of this like part of my life that I was trying to do something with paint that just wasn't working. And so I just really embraced drawing and playing around with digital color, which is what a lot of my work is. And then once I figured out a formula that worked for me and looked the way I finally wanted it to look, then that's kind of what gave me the excitement to push forward.
Gotcha. That's cool. Where did the name Elliot come from?
Elliot. So it's funny because I used to just call him Ellie, like with a Y. I mean, he was always a boy, but Ellie with a Y. And then
the stuffed animal, like when you were a kid.
No, the character that I
gotcha.
would doodle.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And so, actually, when Laura offered that contract to me, he was still Ellie. It was little Ellie, and one thing that she talked about when we started working together was, Ellie sounds a lot like Ella, which is, another elephant series. Yeah. I don't want anyone getting confused. So we're going to have to change the name. And I was kind of like worried about it at first. And so I was kicking around some ideas, and then it was actually my husband's idea to name him Elliot, because he was saying like, it still kind of has Ellie in it, Elliot.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, that's actually a really good idea. But now it's totally his name. Like I can't, it's weird calling him Elliot to me. Like I feel like Elliot fits so much better now that I've like gotten to know the character even more.
That's cool. That's real cool.
Yeah.
So that was, when did, I guess, Elliot first start showing up in your sketchbook?
Like early 2000s.
Okay.
I have the earliest memory I have is like I was at a conference, an illustration conference, Icon. I don't know if you've ever heard of Icon.
Yeah. I actually had
it's amazing. It's biannual.
Yeah, I had Armand Serrano on a couple weeks ago, and I think he was just talking at it because it was last week, wasn't it? I believe Icon.
Yeah, I wasn't able to make it this year. Maybe it was last week. I'm not sure, but
okay, cool.
Yeah, so I've been to two of those, and they were both really inspiring, just fantastic. So the first one I went to was in San Francisco. I think that was maybe 2004. But I remember doodling him on my sketchbook, like actually on the cover of the sketchbook during the conference.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So what's it like then having a character with you for over a decade?
Like, has he grown up with you, or has he changed?
Oh yeah, I mean, he's like an old friend now, right? I mean, I think that we know each other really well, and I mean, I feel like I've instilled a lot of my childhood in Elliot, so you know, there's a lot of nostalgia built into that character, but basically, he's this kind of completely innocent part of myself, you know, and of course none of us are completely innocent. So you know, he's charming to me. It's like, oh, it's me if I wasn't a jerk sometimes, you know, or if I never messed up. Yeah, but he still, of course, has his own challenges. So
that's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So the next one in the series is coming out in August. So
so
about a month after this goes live.
Yeah. So it's Little Elliot Fall Friends. So Elliot and Mouse are, you know, doing their thing in the city. Here they are trying to cross the street in Times Square, and you know, I love the city. Elliot loves the city, but you know, sometimes it can be a little much. You know, there's lots of noise. There's lots of traffic. Everyone's on the go. It can be dirty. So there are definitely times when you live in the city that you think to yourself, "I wish I was anywhere but here right now."
Yeah.
As much as I love it, and so they have a little getaway, and they get on the bus and they go out of the city to the country. And they kind of have a fun fall day. And Elliot might get lost in the book.
Awesome.
But spoiler alert, it all works out in the end. And of course, it wouldn't be an Elliot book if there wasn't like some kind of feast. So of course, there's like lots of food at some point.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, and actually, I photographed a lot of the landscape in this book on the grounds of this apple orchard that I used to go apple picking at when I was growing up. Yeah, so I grew up outside New York City, like 20 miles outside, and then we would drive further north and go apple picking every year.
That's really cool. That's really cool.
Yeah, thanks.
So I know I've read a little bit about kind of your process and how you develop your work. So do you still start out with the pencil sketch and then scan that in and then paint digitally? Is that your still kind of workflow? Yeah,
for all the Elliot books, that's how I do it. I'll just do a really finished graphite drawing on paper and scan it, and then in Photoshop I call it digital glazing. It's just like tons of layers of color.
Okay, cool.
That are all masked out.
Gotcha.
So different modes and transparencies, and it's been working for me. But I've been experimenting a lot in the last year. So I'm really excited about some of the newer stuff. So this is the other book that comes out the same day. It's All the Way to Havana. So this is written by Margarita Engel and is also a Laura Godwin book. And I'm still drawing, and there's still digital color, but I'm going to see if I can zoom in here. But there's also paint.
Okay, cool.
And like the trees in this picture are paint. And you can see like the ground here has like a lot of texture.
Yeah.
So I use like some pumice or something. And then if you see like on the fabric and on like the wood on the house, so those are more like photographic overlays. So I actually went to Cuba to do research for this book, and I took like thousands of photos. And so I used a lot of textures from actual locations in Cuba to help create the the feel for the book. So it was different and really exciting for me, and I really like how it came out. And I just finished a book that Samantha Berger wrote, and that's going to be for Little Brown. That comes out in spring. It's called What If? And I can't show you anything yet for that, but it's finished, and it's all like mixed media.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, kind of a departure for me. So I'm still drawing, still have a lot of digital color, but there are a lot of 3D elements that I created and then photographed, and then it's all like drawing combined with the 3D stuff. And so that was really fun to make. So yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. So while I love drawing, like drawing's like my first love, right? But I'm excited to be kind of trying out some different stuff.
Yeah. Did I see you tweet about something about like wooden, like prints, like doing printmaking?
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah. It was, I did a lino cut for What If.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So that was one spread. It was like lino cut, and then I did this like watercolor overlay for that piece. Yeah. Cool. But I did a bunch of like kooky stuff. Like I built like an igloo out of sugar cubes.
Oh, sweet.
I made a dragon out of dried leaves. Yeah, just lots of fun stuff.
Yeah, that's really cool. I've had Andy Harkness on, and he's with Disney, but he had a book come out where there's a bunch of clay sculptures that he did, and then he like digitally painted on top of the sculptures, which is really, because it's really cool when people combine like real elements with digital too.
Yeah, totally.
Well, sweet. Well, and I meant to ask. So on the next little Elliot book, did you have a favorite spread from that, working on it?
Gee, my favorite spread. No pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of. Actually, this was kind of a lesson in patience and perseverance. But here's Elliot lost in this cornfield.
Oh man, yeah.
So it kind of took a long time to draw all that corn.
Yeah.
And and it was worth it. There was two spreads. So here's the first one, like during the day, and then he still lost like at sunset there.
Oh wow, that's cool.
So it's actually the same drawing. I I changed Elliot's pose and then just played around with color, but it was really satisfying after investing all that time in drawing like every stalk of corn. To see it come together. Yeah.
That's cool.
So,
well, as we're kind of wrapping up, a couple questions we love to ask folks that come on. The first one is, when you were a kid, were there any books that you had that were your favorite that you can remember reading, or maybe your parents did because you read them so much?
Yeah. In our house, Golden books were what was in the budget, right? So I used to love to read The Little Red Caboose, like all the time. And, Richard Scarry, like What Do People Do All Day? And, like the Busy Town stuff. I wasn't like a really little kid, but when I was a little bit older, like I discovered, I was maybe like a teenager, and I discovered my little brother's Arnold Lobel Frog and Toad books, and I was like obsessed with them. Of course, I wouldn't tell anyone, like any of my teenage friends, like, oh my gosh, I love this like kids book.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was obsessed with them. And actually, just getting back to Golden books. So I still have I have this giant book of Golden book stories, and they're all illustrated by Tibor Gergely.
Okay, cool.
So he's been a big influence in my life. So he illustrated Little Red Caboose and a whole lot of other ones. So yeah.
That's awesome. That's cool. And then for today, are there any folks that, or anybody's work that you really look up to, or maybe someone you'd really love to collaborate with on a project?
Oh, wow. Well, there are so many amazing illustrators out there right now. It's kind of incredible. Let me just think. Okay, so some people that really inspire me that are working today, Isabel Arsenal. I love her work. So that was, she's Jane the Fox and Me. And let's see, I'm cheating, I'm looking at my shelf. Virginia Woolf, You Belong Here. So those are some of her titles that she's illustrated. I think those are all written by someone else. Julie Morstad, she illustrated Swan. I love her work. Carson Ellis is amazing. Brendan Wenzel. I'm best friends with Ruth Chan. She does beautiful line work with watercolor. I'm always like really impressed with people who can paint in watercolor. It's like the hardest medium ever. Yeah, so off the top of my head, those are some other illustrators that I really love. And then collaborating with authors, I mean, I don't know. I feel like I dare not say it out loud. Otherwise, it may never come true. But actually working on What If with Samantha Berger was a dream come true. So Samantha is also one of my best friends. And to work on a book with one of your besties, it's like no one gets to do that. Very few people get to do that. And I feel like it was very collaborative, which also illustrators and authors don't get to do very often. I mean, she wrote the text first, and then I was brought in on the project. But we were very much a part of, influencing each other's decisions at times. Yeah.
That's cool. That's really cool. Well, for folks that want to follow along, especially with the books you have coming out, or maybe just the work that you're doing, any good places that you would send people to?
Well, I've got my website. It's MikeCurato.com. You can follow me on Twitter. It's just at Mike Curato. I'm on Instagram, Mike_Curato. Yeah, check it out. And Margarita and I will be going on a book tour in September.
Okay.
And I'll also be doing a bunch of other events on my own. So yeah, just check out my site for events.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, I appreciate you hanging out. It was a blast chatting, and especially in the backstory of a lot of your work and your inspiration. It's so cool to see. So can't wait to see the stuff you have coming out in the future too.
Great. Thanks, Brandon.
Yeah, my pleasure.